The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. WealthBuilders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Welcome to episode 106 of Wealth Talk. My name's Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, and I'm joined today by our founder, Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Chris. Good to be with you again. And I think we've got an old friend in our midst today.
We have indeed. We have WealthBuilders SaaS Director Paul Brooks joining us again. Long-awaited return from Paul. So we'll be listening to Paul in a very short moment. But before we do that, we've been busy again this week, Kevin, haven't we? Working on the launch of the WealthBuilders Academy, which is coming up next month in June. So it's looking great. We're so excited about all of the new content that we will be adding, and we're hosting a webinar. So if you'd like to join us on Thursday, the 3rd of June, and have a look inside the WealthBuilders Academy, we'll be walking you through the 9-step recurring revenue roadmap. And if you're an entrepreneurial employee or a business owner and you want to build more wealth and become financially independent within 5 years, then do join us and we will show you our holistic process to create multiple streams of income.
Wow. Okay. It sounds like you've nailed that one, Chris.
Well, we better let people know where they can join us. So head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/academy launch, all one word, and you can register your place on the webinar 3rd of June starting at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, good thing to mention about the rename, Chris. Partly, I think it's because as we share our complete obsession about how to improve the financial plight of our members. You know, we're so completely immersed in this process to make people wealthy. We can see there's not just our own content, but there's some great external content, isn't there? Some great people that we've built a sort of big black book, not a little black book, of just outstanding people over the last decade or so. And so gradually we'll be introducing an academy feel, which isn't all going to be the IP of myself and Chris. So, you know, there's going to be other people who will share some content over time. We'll be curating some just brilliant content. And you'll see, I suppose, a more rounded, continue the holistic theme, but we'll be doing our damnedest to bring huge value or a reduced cost or some extra thinking and dynamics into the wealth building process. So it becomes, hopefully, just the best impartial, holistic wealth building process there is out there, whichever country you're in.
Yeah. And, we put so much effort into the support that we offer. You know, we really do want to be there to hold your hand every step of the way. So it's a really easy to follow process. It reduces overwhelm. I know, Kevin, we've talked about in previous episodes, people just not knowing where to begin, who to trust. There's so much information out there. So we really try and lay out the process so that anybody can follow that and see progress, you know, within the first 90 days and then within the first 12 months be turning wheels and generating recurring income.
Yeah. And while we never preach get rich quick, we never do that. We think it's a 3 to 7 year process, but actually we heard last week, didn't we, in the last episode, Paul Ambler, 18 months, you know. So everybody goes at a different pace and we don't judge that because everybody starts with a different level of knowledge already, different level of financial leverage they can bring to the table, and of course, a different level of time. And we know how difficult it is for you guys who are caught up in the tyranny of the routine of doing things in your day jobs or in your businesses that you have to be there to keep the wheels turning inside your business. And we know that if you can find 2 hours a month, 2 hours a week, I apologize for that, 2 hours a week, 2 hours a week, then you can build wealth and you can become financially independent. And everybody can find 2 hours a week. If you can't, you know, then you're doomed. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Well, we've got Paul Brooks, as we mentioned, and Paul is our SaaS director. So every day, Paul is helping our members to come up with strategies to help them, you know, really make the most of the pension And today he's talking about 3 SaaS strategies that business owners can use to build more wealth, which is very much firmly focused on step 6 of the roadmap, which is all about strategy.
Yeah, and pensions are not the sexy subject, that other assets can bring. But one of the things I like is just this huge focus on being tax-free. I mean, tax-free havens. Doesn't that sound good? I mean, think about it as a tax-free trust fund. A SSAS is, whatever country you're in, there's an option for this, which is to build money tax-free. So you're not going to pay tax on the income. You're not going to pay tax on the growth. You're not going to pay tax on inheritance. You're just building up a fantastic tax-free pot. Why would you not do that, given every country is going to have to increase the level of overall taxes to pay for the cost of the pandemic and the protection of lives and the protection of livelihoods that countries work so hard to do? So as your tax bill goes up, it puts more pressure on keeping more money and therefore learn tax-free ways. And, don't worry, it's called a pension or not. It's tax-free. So, take a few minutes, listen to what Paul has to say. We'll come back and, I suppose, widen some of those lessons. So not just about those people who are eligible for SSAS pensions. And by the way, if you want to know whether you're eligible for that, just what's the best way for people to reach out, Chris?
I would say book in a discovery call is the easiest way. Have a chat with one of our teams. So wealthbuilders.co.uk/discovery call.
Yeah, and 4 eligibility tests, and we'll help you kind of decide whether a SSAS might be right for you. Now, we only can take those calls if you're here registered in the UK. However, book a call with somebody else if you're living in another country and there's something similar in the country you're in. So definitely look into that.
Yeah. And if you're not sure what a SSAS is, perhaps you're just tuning into Wealth Talk for the first time, then do head back and listen to one of our earlier episodes where we talk about the different ways that SSAS can help you. So episode 75 and also episode 18, when we first talked about what a SSAS pension is. So I'll link to those in today's show notes. Yeah,
I mean, it's just nothing more than a pension fund aimed directly at entrepreneurs so that they can do entrepreneurial things. It's like being in complete control. And those of us who are pushing against the trend, we're going against the tide. We're trying to build our wealth when everything tells us, we should just be good employees or good business owners. We're bucking that trend. And a SSAS bucks the trend. It says, you should take control of your own pension, do what you can do, which means learning more, of course, about what's possible. It's we often refer to a SSAS, small self-administered scheme, as a hugely powerful vehicle. And like any very powerful vehicle or very powerful tool, you need a bit of instruction to learn how it works. And Paul and his team were just outstanding at giving that instruction from videos and guides and face-to-face or screen-to-screen coaching and counseling. So, check it out. It's definitely worthwhile. It's a big part of my own wealth building plan. And for everybody who's in our Wealth Builder program, almost all of them at some point will be seeking that eligibility criteria for their SSASs and take control of their pensions and make their pensions a part of their future, not a sad reflection of their past.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's hand over to our SSAS Director, Paul Brooks. Hey, Paul, good to have you back on Wealth Talk today.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, look, it's been a while, actually. Just having a look back, and it was back in July 2020, in the thick of it right then, weren't we? And that time, we were talking about 6 tax-saving tips for business owners. And if you have not listened to that episode, absolutely do make sure you go back and do so. That was episode 66, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But today, talking about more tips for business owners, Paul. So today we're talking about 3 SSAS strategies that business owners can use to build more wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, excited to get stuck into it again. And I promise it won't be another almost year before I'm on again. So,
well, we know you're a busy man. We're all busy each day helping our members and our clients of Wealth Builders, and lots of positive feedback. Don't worry, we've been shouting you out in many of the episodes with all the lovely reviews that we get on Trustpilot and all the people that are so grateful for the help that you give them.
Fantastic.
So, Paul, let's dive in. So, SSAS strategy number 1 that business owners can use to build more wealth. What's that one?
Yeah, sure. So, number 1 is using the money you've built up, and whether that's from contributions or whether that's from, amalgamating existing pensions into your SSAS and using it to support your business by buying your own business premises from yourself. So this is for existing business owners who've already got a business premises, but they're looking to perhaps change the way they hold their assets or make things slightly more tax efficient. And basically what I'm talking about is using the money they've accumulated in their SSAS, as I say, to buy their premises from themselves. Actually exchange the SSAS with the cash, buying the premises, so effectively switching the property and the money around. The business has now got an injection of capital into its bank account. It can use that money for anything it wants. It can go out and buy more equipment or hire more staff or invest in new systems, all those important leverages that you teach so well in the academy, Chris. But effectively what you've done then is take that commercial premises, plonk it inside the tax-free environment of the SSAS, and that creates a few things. It creates a new stream of income coming into the SSAS in the form of the rental income from the property. The business becomes the tenant and the SSAS becomes the landlord. So because there's a landlord and a tenant, the SSAS has to charge a rental income. It charges the rental income to your business. That rental income is a tax deductible expense. So not only are you generating a new flow of income into your SSAS, which is in a way kind of like a new source of contribution, you're also being able to offset the cost of that rental income against your corporation tax bill.
Smart.
Pretty cool, right? So just a very, very simple change, nothing hugely sophisticated, but just simply by shifting the way your SSAS and your business own things can really actually make quite a big difference to your tax position, to the growth and the value of your SSAS, which of course is entirely free of tax and is a tax-free legacy when you're no longer here. Everyone's sick to death of hearing about COVID, I'm sure, but I suppose what it highlighted is that, businesses can be susceptible to volatility and things that you can't see coming can have a massive impact on the business. And I suppose one of the added benefits to having the property in the SSAS is that it's ring-fenced. And that means that it's now no longer owned by the business. And therefore, if the business were encountering a problem and it owned a valuable asset, well, that asset could come under attack from creditors, bankruptcy, insolvency claims. If there's been a transaction and that asset has moved into now being ring-fenced into the SSAS, it's now no longer the property of the business. It's actually owned by the SSAS. So you're almost safeguarding that asset for the future as well. As just a natural part of that transaction.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
Worth pointing out very quickly, I guess, too, that, if you're buying and selling an asset, you might well find that any gain on that property that's been made could be subject to tax. So obviously something you need to have a good chat with your accountant about if that was something that was of interest.
Okay, that's really cool. So that's strategy number 1. Now, what about if you don't own your own premises already, Paul?
Well, then strategy number 2 is using the money you've built up in your SSAS to see if you can go out and buy yourself a new premises. There are lots of benefits to owning your own premises and running from there. And I suppose chief among which is you stop paying rent to somebody else and start paying it to your SSAS instead. Most businesses need a premises to operate from, right? No matter what you do. And therefore, the chances are you're probably renting somewhere at the moment if you don't own. Now, that means you're paying good money out to somebody else and building their wealth. Well, by using your SSAS to buy a business premises that you can then operate from, you're effectively switching from paying rent to somebody else to paying it into your own pension instead.
Mm. And with the situation as it is, there may now be some great opportunities out there because, there's been a shift in the way people are working. So there may now be some really good premises available.
Well, absolutely. And look, we always see, sadly, whenever there's a crisis, there's especially something like, COVID happening, there's always opportunity. And the commercial property world, I suspect, has taken a bit of a battering in certain sectors, and lots of property now is perhaps undervalued, creates a great opportunity for somebody else. But it's also the opportunity to see if you can find a new way of creating wealth by being inventive, and picking a property that fits the needs of business owners today. Far more people working more flexibly, working from home, shared office space is probably on the up. All those sorts of things, all those types of property are certainly possible to hold within a SSAS.
Absolutely. So that potentially leads us into strategy number 3, which is being more creative with your thinking. And what's that one, Paul?
Well, I guess you'd call that spare capacity. So what I mean by that is, whether you own your own premises and you use strategy 1 and have your SSAS buy it from you, or you go out and you find a premises to buy, there's always a question mark for me about whether there's the ability to use any of the spare capacity of the building to generate more wealth, to leverage more income, if you like. And by that, I mean seeing if you can take a piece of your property, the space in your building, whatever it might be, and creating something that could be rented out to another business. I'm sure lots of businesses have got space they don't use in their building. All sorts of different types of businesses and properties. But, most people, I'm sure, have got space that they don't use so much, or perhaps they don't use at all. And it's effectively just, dead space that they could potentially turn into a completely new stream of income. And of course, by doing that, it's tax-free injection of income into the SSAS. They're boosting their pension wealth and all the good things that come with that. And, it's, I suppose, one of the fundamentals of what we teach, Chris, isn't it? Is to try and create sustainable income. And if you've got an asset already, leveraging it to try and, boost the income is a really powerful tool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about shifting your mindset, thinking like an entrepreneur. And I can see such huge opportunities here because, as we've said, people are changing the way they work, but a lot of people, they don't necessarily want to work from home all the time. They just want a bit more flexibility. So I can see a lot of local businesses now, maybe shops who've got space upstairs and a few extra rooms where there will be people locally who would happily come in and hire a desk. And, that could be reconfigured pretty easily without much cost, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. So there's our 3 SSAS strategies that business owners can use to build their wealth. And Paul, for anyone perhaps who's not familiar with SSAS and certainly the process at WealthBuilders, you've been our SSAS director for many years now, Paul. So just explain to people, what is the process? How do we help people leverage their pensions?
Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, basically what we do with business owners is take them through a clear step-by-step journey which shows them the tools that a SSAS has and the strategies that it can use, and basically help them build a strategy based around their circumstances, their goals. There's no one size fits all in business. There's no one size fits all in SSAS. So what we do is we work with people on a one-on-one basis. We give them one-to-one guidance and support, which effectively means walking them through the journey of firstly creating their SSAS and having it registered. And we've got a really exciting, unique proposition with some fantastic trustee administrator partners that we work with to do that. we then help them think about the fuel that's going to go into their SSAS, and that can be existing pensions, it can be contributions, it can be the importance of taking advice and guidance from other professionals like IFAs and accountants to do that properly and safely. And then, the most exciting part, of course, is helping them understand how their SSAS can be a fantastic tool to leverage their wealth, to grow their assets, to create streams of income inside their SSAS, but also to synergize with their business. So that sort of one-on-one hand-holding, if you like, if you want to call it that, support, guidance, to take them through the journey and support them on into, making the shift from planning for deployment into actually then deploying their money. And of course, that's a whole new exciting stage that we're a big part of too.
Yeah. And if anyone listening now is interested just to find out a little bit more, have a chat with one of our team, they can head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/discovery call and just to find out a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be delighted to chat for sure.
Great. Paul, thanks so much for sharing with us today.
Pleasure, Chris. Thanks again.
Okay, we can dive into those points, Kevin, in just a second. Before we do that, let me head to Trustpilot and read out one of our recent reviews from the last 7 days. So we have one here from Gary who says, a personal thanks to Christian and Kevin for the connection. The Wealth Builders community and the network it supports is understated but quietly powerful, driven by a desire by its members to connect, share, learn and grow. We find it reassuring as we rewire our lives away from our work-life careers to a more rewarding future, that there are normal people within the Wealth Builders community traveling a similar journey that share our wealth vision.
Wow. I like that rewiring concept there. I've not heard anybody frame it that way. It's very interesting, isn't it? Rewire my career. That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, often when you talk about property, there's, in the 7 Fs, there's this, one of the Fs in property is fixing, isn't it? Fix the property. And often that fixing is something to do with, changing utilities, making more efficient, making more effective, that thing. So, and often rewiring will make, a building more efficient. I think it's a very interesting idea from Gary, that he's rewiring his career and that of his wife actually as well. So
yeah, I like it.
I like it too, actually.
Towards a more rewarding future. And I think that's the key point, isn't it? It's so many people don't have a clear plan. And, when you get that clarity, you can see other people achieving what you want to achieve. They're not that far ahead. As Gary said, normal people getting results, and it gives you that confidence that it's possible for you too.
Yeah, that's a good one from Gary. So thank you, Gary, for that. When did we last hear from Paul? Because it seems like an age ago.
Well, it was a while ago. We did joke about that. It was back on episode 66 where we were talking about Relevant Life. Again, a very tax efficient, tool there.
Well, Relevant Life, look, the terminology in wealth is kind of speaking a new language. When you want to enjoy a journey, if you want to go to France or Italy or Spain, excuse me, or anywhere, it's always good to have a smattering of the language, because it just, lets people know that you're participating, you're learning, and you're willing to engage. You're taking the journey seriously. In wealth, it's no different. So SSAS is a piece of language. Relevant Life is a piece of language. It's inappropriate or badly chosen language, but it's kind of legal accuracy, not ease of understanding here. So Relevant Life is just another powerful tool in the hands of a business owner. Kind of says this: if you know you're not wealthy yet, but you're planning to be, one of the ways to make sure that your family would be wealthy, there'd be enough income flowing in so you could fuel the life that you'd planned for them, is to have a life insurance policy. Now, not to worry about our demise, but to say, well, you are currently driving the assets. If you can't drive the assets anymore, why not have life cover to essentially replace the assets you're trying to build? And if you value that, and not for me to say whether you value life cover or not in your situation, but if you do, then why would you pay for that policy with after-tax money? Why would you not pay with pre-tax money? So the government chips in, reduces the cost of providing a benefit for your family. And that's what Relevant Life is. So we were grateful for Paul to share that with us, and definitely re-listen to that if you're a business owner. It's only for business owners, it's not for employees, only for business owners. But the essential knock-on effect, Chris, is it either pretty much halves the cost of any life cover you choose to have, and we've got access to a team of experts who can help you kind of sort that out. Or instead of halving the cost, you could double the benefit. So instead of having a few 100,000, you could have several 100,000. And that just means in the worst case, should the worst happen, your family are protected. They will be financially independent. And the proceeds are all written into a trust, just like a SSAS is a trust, tax-free haven, remember. Then that proceeds, or the proceeds, should a payment be made, would be paid into a trust fund completely free of tax. So it's just good stuff to learn, you know. I said earlier on that tax and keeping money. Tax is an all-pervasive challenge. It's a brake on our money. It reduces the amount of money we keep. And while we've got to pay our taxes, of course, but it makes sense to become tax savvy and find ways to reduce the cost of our tax and improve the retention of our money with which we plant those seeds and we build more wealth. And this is just true as a wealth builder. This is what we do, is we find ways to reduce our costs and ways to increase our revenue and ways to actually enjoy the journey, Chris, which is just as important, isn't it? Because, you know, while the language can be sometimes dour and grey and opaque, what we're trying to bring is a sense of, well, what this means to you, and to fire your life to give you some ideas that you can use to do something very seriously different about building wealth for you, for your family, and for future generations. And I'm very passionate about this subject.
And if you're not a business owner, Kevin, obviously, you know, the SSAS strategy is for business owners. If you're not a business owner and you have a pension, you know, what are some of the first things that you could be doing just to try and, you know, make more out of what you already have?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chris. And we know that many of our Wealth Builder members are trying to break free of that time for money trap in employment. Nothing wrong with employment. We know that it's a pathway to play on a team, work for a team, and build more knowledge and skill. But turning to the pension question, I would say the number one strategy that anybody should follow when they've got a pension of any kind, particularly if it's invested in the tradition of the stock market where you have no control. All you're really doing is investing in the future profits of big companies. And, you know, they have a history of providing long-term reasonable returns, 5-6% probably, in the long term when you iron out booms and bumps and all that sort of thing. Trust me, I'm an economist. That's, you know, I can speak for these numbers. I'm a keen enthusiast of economic history. And while it's more volatile than it's ever been before, it's reasonable to expect 5-6% over the long term. Now, if you know that that's what you're going to get over the long term, back to the tax being a brake on your money, the big brake or the cost that people overlook, I think, in pensions is the charges they pay. And we're very passionate about trying to bring low-cost charges, low cost, because ultimately there is no evidence at all, no consistent evidence at all, I'll say it again, none, that says if you pay higher fees, you get a better return. There's no correlation to this at all. The opposite is true. The lower your fees, the bigger your return, because you're keeping more of your money. And one of the challenges with this is because the whole market of pensions is what we call an intermediated market. It's almost always somebody's in the middle providing a service. And that service historically has been provided in a higher touch environment, you know, when it was people talking to people, people talking to their broker, people choosing funds. Now with the use of technology, the cost of investing is being driven down, but unfortunately, that has not been transferred automatically to the lives of people holding pensions here in the UK, and I'm sure in other countries too. So I would just say, drive your costs down, use technology. There's plenty of places. And again, you can make contact with us, have a discovery call. We can show you how you can dramatically cut the costs of your funds. And the big thing, Chris, is a 1% for the average pension owner in the UK, a 1% reduction in costs will increase the value of their pension on average by £50,000. So who would give £50,000 to the financial services industry when a little bit of research or a discovery call with us or anybody else that you trust and resonate with could find you £50,000 worth of extra money for the sake of a phone call? Now, Chris, I don't like trading time for money. You know that. But I'd spend an hour to save 50 grand, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And I'm not overestimating this. I'm not saying this for effect, and certainly not self-servingly. There's plenty of places where you can go and shop around to reduce the costs of running your money, not just in your pension, but in your ISAs, tax-free wrapper, not a tax-free haven, because you don't have tax relief. You do with pensions, you don't with ISAs and similar things in different countries. There's always something tax-free, but if you can build that tax-free, that's great, but also reduce your charges. And this is a big part of the foundational elements, Chris, in our program when we talk about the debits, which is what stage on the roadmap is that again? Remind me.
Step 2.
Step 2. See, somebody knows what they're doing. And it's a really important foundational element because it says I'm taking stock of what I've got. And taking stock means looking at returns, looking at charges, looking at what you can do to increase your return, reduce your charges, and enjoy the journey. And that's what it's all about. These vehicles they're just there to get us somewhere. So enjoy that journey. Don't DIY. Don't drift. It's no fun in a whirlpool. It's no fun paddling, entirely on your own. There's so much enjoyment. Listen to that review from Gary saying how fantastic it is to share and be part of a community. And I would encourage you to join us. That's what we're about, is trying to make this an enjoyable place to help you build your wealth and create that financial independence that most people crave, but so few reach.
So we focused on Pillar 2, which is the pension pillar today, but of course that's just one of 7 pillars of wealth that you can use to generate recurring income streams. And we'll be showing you all of those pillars on the webinar on the 3rd of June. So I'll just remind you again, if you'd like to join Kevin and myself, then head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/academy launch, and we will walk you through all 9 steps of the roadmap. So you get a really clear view of that process from A to B, of a place from financial insecurity where you haven't got enough recurring income to cover your outgoings, to a place of financial independence where you have more than enough income every month to do everything that you wish for you and your family. So, we're looking forward to that one, Kevin.
Yeah. So just a few short weeks away now.
Yeah. Good. Okay, then. So that wraps up today's episode. Thank you for listening, as always, and we'll be back same time, same place next week, Kevin.
Until then, my friend, see ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build, and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.